Welcome to this special edition of Pacific Report. I'm Christian Garzone. Thanks for joining us. March 11, 2011 was a day that claimed 15,000 lives in Japan. A year has passed since then, since the great East Japan earthquake and subsequent tsunami. The response to that disaster, Operation Tomodachi, Operation Friend, was spearheaded by the American military and the Japanese self-defense forces. American or Japanese, 3/11 is still fresh in the minds of those affected. And the question on everyone's lips 1 year later is, where are we now? To effectively answer that question, we have to take a step back and look at those first few weeks of the disasters in Operation Tomodachi.
This is the biggest disaster and challenge that Japan has faced since World War II.
It's to imagine that a major earthquake plus a tsunami plus a series of reactor accidents would place so many people at risk. The tsunami, which devastated an area that was about 200 miles long and 10 miles wide, the nature of that disaster is hard to imagine and hard to articulate.
I'd say it was worse than I thought. I mean, it was just amazing at how much damage can be done like that.
When you fly over there, and you came over a mountain ridge and just seeing everything that was flattened out, it just looked like it was just gone. City's completely gone.
When I first heard, my original thoughts was, we were just concerned for the safety and welfare for all those that were involved.
The past 2 weeks have been challenging for everyone. The uncertainty surrounding the situation at the Fukushima nuclear plant, the reports about food and water safety, and the continuing aftershocks are having an effect on all of your families. As I've said, we are committed to keeping you informed as the situation unfolds. Having traveled to Northeast Japan this week, I wanted to take a brief moment to share with you a different side of the crisis, and that is the job that the young men and women of our military are doing to help Japan. At Sendai, I saw our forces operating side by side with Japanese forces working to provide relief to those hit hardest along the coast.
Hundreds of people evacuated to this high school, and we tried to survive through the night. I was worried about my kids and family, and was concerned for their safety. Fortunately, my immediate family was safe, but I lost relatives, acquaintances, and many other people.
I was letting other people go up the hill first, and I was the last one. Then I saw a bus floating 4 houses away. Oh, the bus is floating! I could make it, and I can survive. But then I was swept away.
One of, if not the major components of Operation Tomodachi was lifting tons of supplies to those in need. Again, the unshakable team of the U.S. and Japan provided essential elements to those most desperate in the days after March 11th.
With the Japanese in the lead, they are coordinating the delivery of thousands of tons of desperately needed supplies delivered by our ships, helicopters, and aircraft day and night, hour by hour. Our young men and women in uniform are dedicated to this task, and through their heroic actions, they make clear the determination of our country to help Japan through this crisis.
We had, at the height of our operations, over 24,000 people involved, close to 190 aircraft, 24 ships. A lot of the U.S. Navy helicopter efforts that were going on at the time in the first few days in the aftermath for survivor and recovery, search and rescue, was based on the fact that we understood that there would be a lot of pockets of isolated people that would require basically sustenance.
Hirano was one of 500 people who retreated to this high school for safety. After surviving deadly floods, there was little time to recover because he and everyone else soon faced a new challenge, finding food and drinking water.
It was sunny, but cold like today. This place used to be an open field. We drew a big SOS, then we waited for a helicopter to come to us. On the third day, a U.S. military helicopter came to us first. We communicated with each other, passing a paper slip back and forth, which had Japanese writing, asking what supplies we needed and how we were holding up. They brought water and American food, snacks, and non-perishables. I think they came to us every day for 10 days.
We came there and landed, and we were pretty much like a surplus store, and the Japanese people would come on our helicopters and just take what they needed and what they didn't need. They would tell us, and they would give us information of other people that did need certain supplies, so they only took what was necessary, and whatever I could do to help them, I hope it did help.
We were very happy with the U.S. military, but what stood out the most was when the U.S. military gave us their flight jackets during their second visit. We were short on clothes, so we wore them because it was cold. With the jackets, we went out to clear the roads.
And I want to let people understand that this was, in fact, a Japanese operation. Their government of Japan was in the lead for all the operation, and their self-defense force mobilized over 100,000 of their 200,000 active duty people, their first time ever mobilizing, and formed their own joint task force called Joint Task Force Tohoku to support the efforts up there in the Fukushima, Miyagi areas.
1 year later, many places are abandoned, condemned, relics of a paralyzing disaster. If you push away the obvious negatives, the positives are there, and you don't have to dig that deep. Yet, taking patient progress one day at a time, coupled with the amazing Japanese work ethic, this area, this region will recover. And it's with the effort and motivation of people like Fujiwara who are bringing life back to the affected areas.
We may get our buildings back if we work very hard, but we cannot get our people's lives back. So to avoid such loss of life in the future, I want to rebuild this town and make it safer.
His wife and children may have survived, but he's lost everything he's ever worked for.
I was a sushi chef. I lost my shop, I lost my job. When I was trying to figure out what to do next to move on, I could only see the debris before me. I realized that before we can rebuild, we have to start cleaning first.
Fujiwara put his money where his heart is and bought a truck to help move debris. He also became very active in his community and helped to unite them under an idea, Kizuna, which translates roughly to an unbreakable bond among all people.
We couldn't survive without everyone working together. Kizuna is very important. This time the disaster happened to Japan. It can happen to other countries too. I always knew we should help each other regardless of the country we're from. But this disaster helped me truly understand that.
A critical process immediately after March 11th and at present is to rebuild, reconstruct, and not lose sight of the objectives ahead. Further, with President Obama's recent shift in focus to the Asia-Pacific region, you can bet America will not forget those affected by the March 11th disasters.
It is clear that at the one-year remembrance of the devastating, the earthquake, the tsunami, and then the nuclear challenges with Fukushima Daiichi, that the Japanese people have recovered extremely well. What we can learn from this 1 year out is of their courage, their discipline, their commitment to each other, and then the strength of the industrial base of Japan that has enabled a tremendous amount of rebuilding. Some estimate the rebuilding rate is now at the 80% level. It was the most devastating and financially expensive natural disaster the world has ever known. And in that regard, we should all look to the Japanese people at how well they did in incredible adversity with their discipline, their courage, and commitment.
While I am immensely proud of our response and the people who just stepped up and the teamwork and the selflessness of our folks, I am also just so thoroughly impressed with the reaction of the Japanese people on the whole, of how, you know, you drive down the coast and they have not complained. They have just lined up and they have just got it done.
Akiko Uesaki lost 4 employees that day.
People have been spending the past year feeling unsure if they were dead or alive. We have been telling each other to see this first anniversary as another step toward moving on with their lives.
One of the ways she's helping her town is by building a larger and safer evacuation area. And for Yoshitaki Hirano, this will be the third time he's had to build his seaweed business from the ground up. But his perseverance is helping put people back to work.
We will never forget all the help everyone gave us. To help others and return the favor, we would like to rebuild soon and continue on into the future with everyone, side by side. Please keep us in your hearts.
Japan and America have a common history yet to be written. Operation Tomodachi isn't the first or last chapter, but it's a bittersweet history that will be told from friend to friend, Tomodachi to Tomodachi, for decades to come. From all of us here at Regional Media Center Japan, I'm Christian Garzone. Thanks for watching.